in the Zoom poll. And the second question is, what do you think will be the hardest part of the green transition? Is it about the technology not scaling fast enough? Is it the policy and regulation that are not well fitting or lagging with the technology advancements? Is it the investment and financial gaps? Or is it the skills and workforce shortages? Let us also know which one do you think will be the hardest when it comes to the energy transition. And the third question is saying, if you could master one new skill this year, we are almost by the end of the year, which one would you pick? Is it AI and digital tools for climate, engineering, hydrogen, energy storage systems, carbon market and climate finance, storytelling, or systems leadership? Let us know by answering the Zoom poll, and until we are able to also start the session with our expert today joining from the studio. I can see some answers. Yeah, thanks also for everyone who's dropping where they are joining from in the chat. We are a pleasure to have you with us today. So, yeah, answers are starting to appear. Hydrogen is leading, followed by both advanced batteries and nature-based solution. I'm glad the carbon capture and the fossil fuels are not leading, I would say. Also, in the second question about the hardest part of the green transition, we can see that policies and regulations are the most concerned aspect, of course, followed by financing and investments, which is pretty rational, I would think. And the last one, it says AI and digital tools are leading when it comes to the one skill that people would like to acquire this year, followed by, of course, carbon market and climate finance. But also storytelling is receiving also good momentum out there. That's great. Any other additional inputs on the Zoom poll before we conclude it and start our session? Perfect. And we can see the nature-based solution is currently leading, and that's also very good. We're very much looking forward to this session today with our experts joining from the studio, which will also highlight some of the future skills needed for the emerging industry currently within the green industry, of course. And this is the fourth session in our series, Green Skills or Catalyzing Green Skills Bootcamp. Thanks everyone who answered the Zoom poll. And of course, please also let us know on the chat where you are joining from. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think the studio is now ready. Yusuf, over to you, please. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Hello, everyone. I'm Yusuf Amr, Project Officer at YTG and your moderator for today. It's so great to have you all with us once again for the fourth session in the Green Skills for a Green Future Bootcamp, which is a part of the larger Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program 2.0, which is a collaboration effort between the Youth for Capacity and Youth for Climate entities. And just to remind you all, we also have the Climate Cafe taking place on the 25th. So I also wanted to draw your attention to a few points. We have posted a discussion prompt today before the session. We would like you all to engage with it, give us feedback and answers on the questions included within it. We have also shared the 3 previous presentation slides on the Files tab in the platform. So please make sure to review them, as I know a lot of you wanted that luxury to revisit the content we've shared with you. We also shared an extra reading material for all of you to get a bit more info on your own time. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and remind you all, for the people that didn't get to participate or attend all previous sessions, we started our first one on the 2nd of September, which was technical and specialized green skills. And the one after it was the 9th. We had growth and leadership skills, where we taught a lot of you how to become better leaders in your respective communities in any entity you're within to drive actual growth and change. And on the 16th, which was the previous session, we had digital green skills, and it was a very interactive session. We had 2 amazing fireside chats in it and a game showcase. One took place in Minecraft for climate, and the other one was the Financial Times game for reaching net zero. So for today's session, on the 23rd, we have future green skills for emerging industries, where we're going to review a lot of them, make sure you guys have those equipped by the last session so you can actually participate and start making a real world change. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our mentor for today, Amira. She will have the stage give a very short introduction of herself, and we can start the session. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. Until Amira can join the studio, I would like to remind everyone to also drop where you are joining, and also drop any questions you have on the chat. And we will be answering these questions either live during the session or after in the discussion platform so far. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Abdurrahman, for the introduction, and Yusuf. I'm delighted to have you all today with me. I'm Amira Fuad. I'm an ESG and a sustainability expert. Just to give you a brief hint, I originated as a renewable energy engineer, and then I started to expand my scope into a little bit further more than energy, a little bit into the environment, a little bit into social, into climate finance, and so on. And I've been lucky to have been working in projects in different regions, like the Gulf countries, MENA region, a little bit of Africa, and a little bit of Europe too. So jumping into our topic today, we're preparing for the next wave of sustainability innovations. There's a lot happening in the market, and we want to take a brief look on tomorrow's industries and the skills that we need to build today to be prepared for what's going to happen tomorrow. And this is very important because the green transition is everywhere, and it's pumping over $10 trillion into that market, generating over 13 million jobs by 2030. So we need to be ready for this part. And currently, the biggest issue with achieving all the climate goals that the companies have, the countries, and so on, is that the current employees have a huge skill gap. So we need the people to start to catch up with what's happening. And I hope that today you can get a little bit of a glimpse of where you can go. So let's take a step back and think of why is this change happening? What are the dynamics of it? So definitely starting with the AI and digitization. And like you all pointed out in the poll, it's everywhere. People are automating their routine jobs and trying to free humans for problem solving. And the second thing is collaboration. You don't have any entity working on its own. You have cross-sector partnerships, you have multidisciplinary approaches across the projects, and most important, everything is flexible. Agility is the key. What's a fact today might be outdated by tomorrow. So it's very important that we always work on upskilling and changing our skills to fit the market needs, and definitely be resilient because we have a changing climate, we have changing economies, and the tech is varying across time. So thinking about what are the trends that are shaping tomorrow and what's going to be opening up in the market. First, we have the carbon neutrality goals. This goes on different levels, whether on the country levels, on national strategy levels, even multinationals and small businesses. And then we have another factor that's the deep tech adoption and the digital finance. Everything is being pushed into digital. Nothing anymore is just basic paperwork. And this unlocks to us so many options like analyzing the data better, reducing the geographical limitations, and so much more. And a very important trend that we need to also mention is the net zero commitments. And just to be clear about that, net zero is a little bit different from the carbon neutrality. So when we speak about net zero, we mean that our net emissions are zero. We produce X amount, and at the same time, through some activities, we absorb this amount. So when you add both, it's a net zero. And finally, the introduction of nature-based resilience and different solutions for food security. So keeping these trends in mind, we start to look at the whole map. There are 5 major industries that are growing, and there are some countries that are most well known with them. That does not mean that these are the only countries where this technology is applied, but let's just say that this is where it's most popular and most projects are applied. So starting with the carbon capture, most of the products are in North America, in Europe, and the second tech is the hydrogen production. We can see a lot of projects in Saudi Arabia, in Japan, in the European Union. And then getting to bioengineering, where you can see Asia and the United States dominating these technologies. And then the nature-based solutions that you all chose before, dominating in Africa and Latin America. And finally, climate resilience, which you can see a lot in the MENA region and small island states. Now, let's break each one a little bit deeper. So starting with the carbon capture. Forget all the fancy terms. It's a very easy thing. It's a vacuum cleaner for emissions. So this technology basically allows us to capture the CO2 from the air and then store it somewhere. Usually these storage units are under the ground, and we can repurpose the CO2 for different reasons or just store it in dumps for later on. And to get into this industry, there are a huge amount of skills that we need. Focusing on initially technical skills of the technology itself, like chemical engineering and geology, carbon accounting, measurements, reporting, and verifying these emissions and CO2 removals, and making sure that everything is verified across the process. And definitely climate financing, understanding the carbon credits, the offsets, all these global market dynamics that we've been discussing, and definitely project finance, because nothing works without money, and policy and standards. We need to have basic knowledge of the Paris Agreement, voluntary standards like the Vera and the gold standards, and so on. And a very important part used in carbon capture tool is the digital tools, starting from the AI to the different blockchain and satellite monitoring for transparency and traceability that we need to integrate across the process. And it's always key to remember that we need to ensure that the community benefits from the project. And in many situations for carbon capture, because we use land, you can see that people lose their indigenous rights. You can see that sometimes it might have a little bit of adverse effects on the biodiversity of the location. So it's very important to have skills of understanding inclusion and equity for these projects to succeed. And then comes the communication and negotiation. We need to have the engagement of all the stakeholders, the indigenous peoples, the regulators, the buyers, the government, you name it. We need to have them all on one table and having a productive discussion. So why does the carbon look optimistic? For so many reasons. It's essential for net zero. And it is the key for different industries, especially heavy industries like the cement and steel and so on. Also, the CO2 stored can be used later on for so many things, like integrating it into synthetic fuels production, building materials like cement. And also, carbon capture storage locations allow us to have a new life for some of the existing fossil fuel infrastructure. So it's very common that oil companies have their old oil mines that they don't use any longer, to use them to store the carbon under the ground where the oil used to be. So this is basically giving life again to the brownfield that we have already used. And definitely, we are pumping huge growing investments into this field, and it supports energy security, which is the aim of all countries right now. And we can find so many different case studies about the carbon capture, like the Ravenna project in Italy and the Mammoth Direct Air Capture and Storage Facility in Iceland. And you can even go through more of these data about the projects in the handouts that Yusuf mentioned earlier. So feel free to give it a read on your free time and see more about the capacity of these projects, their status. Both of these projects are active currently, by the way, and they have so many expansion plans for reaching 2035. But it's not all green. Why is the carbon not mainstream? There are so many reasons, and the main thing is high cost. Like we said before, it's always money talks. When you say sustainability, we build it on 3 pillars: profit, people, and the planet. If we miss one of them, it won't be sustainable on the long run. And this is why carbon capture is not catching up yet. It's very high cost. You have amounting of $50 to $100 to just capture 1 ton of CO2. And in addition, it's very energy intensive. That reduces the overall efficiency of the process, like by 20 to 30%, depending on the technology and the size and so on. And also, it's not always easy to find a location for such projects, because you need to choose a location that has the right geological specs that can withstand the storage of carbon under it. And then comes again the policy uncertainty. We don't have much clear carbon pricing schemes. We don't have much project funding, and so on. And there is definitely a huge skill gap. As we speak today, less than 0.2% of all the global emissions are captured by carbon capture technologies. And this is a very, very small fraction to consider it as a mainstream technology. And definitely a huge issue is the public acceptance. People have a huge fear of leakage of this carbon stored underground. And there's also a huge fear of the fossil fuel companies using this tech to greenwash their sustainability information. So taking it a step back, greenwashing is basically when a company or an entity starts to claim something from their sustainability goals without real actual numbers to backing it up. So it might be fake, it might cause the people to lose the trust in the initiative itself. And at the end of the day, it might not be a real sustainable impact. It's just a marketing fluff and a little bit of a PR stunt. So getting to our second technology, it's hydrogen, a very popular one. So just to keep it simple, hydrogen is produced from water. As we all know, it's H2O. And we use the electricity in the electrolysis process to start to separate the hydrogen from the oxygen. And this hydrogen is later on stored and used either in the liquid form or in the gas form and transported to wherever we want to use it. And hydrogen seems like a magical solution for so many reasons. First of all, it's not intermittent. It's very stable. So when we speak about solar or wind energy, it comes and goes. The sun has different radiation times, the wind has different speeds, so it's not constant. While with hydrogen, it's just steady flow. And definitely it also unlocks a little bit of grid flexibility. So in many situations, when you have surplus from the renewable energy, you can just use it to produce the hydrogen and use it to store the extra electricity. Also, another amazing thing is that we can basically plug and play on the current infrastructure for natural gas transportation. Yes, we do need some retrofitting and some modifications, but it is still doable, and it makes its integration cost a much lower concept when you speak in the project finance. Also, the flexibility of the transport. You can transport the hydrogen as ammonia, you can transport it as a gas, you can transport it as a liquid. You have so many options. And its industrial compatibility is amazing because it can fit into the heavy industries like the steel, cement, fertilizers, and so on. And it definitely allows countries to be more energy secure as it reduces the fossil fuels independence and makes it easier for the country to just produce pure energy from water. And definitely that it's scalable with renewable energies to store the extra energy. So a lot of colors appear when we start to speak about the hydrogen. There's the green, there's the blue, there's the gray. So what's all this talk about? All these colors refer to the energy source that is used to generate the hydrogen. So when we speak about green hydrogen, which is always the main aim, it is hydrogen that is produced from electricity that was generated through renewables. But when we speak about, for example, gray hydrogen, this is when we use natural gas to produce the electricity required for the electrolysis of hydrogen. And same goes for blue hydrogen. This is when you integrate natural gas with a little bit of carbon capture. And one of the most popular colors too is the black one. And it's very easy to remember. Black is the one produced from coal. Pink or purple is the one where we use the electricity coming from nuclear energy. And brown is the one where we get the electricity from feedstock. So getting into the hydrogen market, there is a lot of skills that we need to work on. First, we need to understand the power generation and how to integrate it into our current grids right now. Whether linking the hydrogen with the traditional grids that we have, or integrating it with the solar, wind, and nuclear infrastructure. Another important thing is the electrolysis engineering itself. So you have the operating of the electrolysis units, you have the scaling of the electrolyzers themselves for green hydrogen, and the storage and the transport of the outcome hydrogen. And the whole supply chain and logistics to manage the hydrogen shipping, the fueling infrastructure, and the trade across the borders. And there is a very, very important skill that comes to the hydrogen market, and that is safety. Hydrogen is a transparent gas, it's odorless and highly flammable and even explosive. So safety is a #1 concern when it comes to hydrogen production plants. So safety experts are compulsory. We need to understand the safety standards, the emergency protocols, handling the flammability risks, and everything that makes the workers and the station 100% safe, whether for the region itself or the people around. And also hydrogen enters into many industrial applications like the steel, cement, chemicals, refineries. So we need to understand how we integrate that into the technology itself. And again, for sure, digital and AI tools, we have a lot to use it for example, predictive maintenance, AI grid balancing, so much that can help us have the process run much more smooth and much more efficient. And also the policy and standards. We need to create different hydrogen codes. We need to create different safety regulations that can be globalized. We need to work on the certification schemes. And so much of the standards and the frameworks is still missing to make sure that this technology can be mainstream. And definitely, again, speaking about the social and inclusive skills, there are no projects that will succeed without the right stakeholder engagement, getting the workforce together, and getting the community to understand the real benefits of integrating such a project. But if it all sounds so good, why is hydrogen falling back. And again, we come to the main point. It's very, very expensive compared to other energy sources. It has a very high cost. And also the process is very energy intensive. So you have huge energy losses across the production of hydrogen itself. And we still have some infrastructure gaps. Yes, we can retrofit the current natural gas infrastructure, but we still need new pipelines. We need new storage tanks. We need refueling stations. And all that means even extra cost. And definitely the safety concern is a huge question. And the bigger issue is that this hydrogen comes from water. And in a thirsty world that we are living in today, this is a huge question mark. Especially that hydrogen needs very fresh water with very specific purity. We can use the seawater, but the desalination process even uses more energy, getting the hydrogen to get more expensive and to have the process more energy intensive. So when it comes to using the precious fresh water that we have for energy or for the people to drink, to produce food, etc., this is always a hard choice for nations to create, especially with the current water crisis and the droughts happening all over the world. And finally, the uncertain policy support. We don't have still global harmonization in the trade. We don't have international clear frameworks that we can all work on. And you can even read through these on a little bit more on the handouts, where you can understand a little bit more about the projects, like the one in NEOM, which is one of the largest green hydrogen projects. It's located in Saudi Arabia, and another huge plant for liquid ammonia located in Oman. You can find more details about these case studies or the technology itself in the handouts mentioned before. And it wouldn't be fair to discuss hydrogen and renewables without mentioning energy storage. It's the key to all renewables. And unfortunately, it's always the bottleneck because of the cost, the end life, so many issues that pop up with that technology. So just to simplify it, the aim of energy storage is to store the electricity for later use, just to balance when we have a high supply of electricity regarding a low demand and vice versa. And this works with a lot of renewables just to ensure that we have energy 24/7. And when we mention energy storage, this is a booming market. It is projected to have over 1 million jobs by 2030. And we don't speak only about the traditional batteries like the lithium ion, the solid state, and the flow batteries. It's way bigger than that. We have the hydrogen, like we mentioned before. We have pumped hydro, where we start to pump the water when we have extra energy into dams and reservoirs and make the water flow back to produce the electricity when we need it. And a lot of other emerging technologies like thermal storage, compressed air batteries, and even gravity batteries. And now moving into our third innovation, bioengineering. And this is actually a very magical world because this is where biology meets technology, both working together to design something that can help the environment and solve the human challenges. And it's a very multidisciplinary approach that could work with AI, genetics, chemistry, material science to help us solve so many different issues. And actually, we find a lot of bioengineering applications in our daily life. And these are some of the most common ones. So starting with crops that are resilient to climate change. And when we mention climate change, we can think of drought. We can think of even increased rainfall in some regions. We can think about the change in temperatures, which cause new pests to arrive, and so many things. But some of the most common options are drought-resistant crops. And we have also a situation in sub-Saharan Africa where the farmers have been growing drought-resistant maize. This did not just improve the food security, but it also improved the farmers' income, which in order started to improve the whole ecosystem of the region. Another very common application is bioplastics. And we can find these bioplastics in different options, whether in textiles, like the clothes that we're wearing, and the plastics, in some materials like cement, and so on. And one of the very fascinating examples that I found was bioplastics from engineered microbes, and this is created in USA. They create these plastic bottles to be used by different multinational companies, where instead of having the traditional plastic, you can just use these bioplastics that are very easily biodegradable and decrease your carbon footprint and plastic usage. And finally, a lot of microbes are used for the pollution cleanup. So you can have the microbes to start absorbing the extra CO2 or the extra carbon, or perhaps a little bit of the pollution in the sewage water. And this can help us in rejuvenating complete sites again and bringing life back to it with minimal efforts. But what makes it awesome and what's not? So all the positive parts include having better food security, having better materials that are more sustainable, having even more jobs in a very diverse spectrum. But with all of these come some concerns. First of all, there are huge research and development costs related to bioengineering. And it always needs a lot of research to understand how these bioengineered items are introduced into our environment and how will they impact it later on and have also an impact on the biodiversity. And other than that, also there's always a concern about people accepting such products. It's not always a good thing, and people do not always understand that bioengineering might be for the better. Some people start to think that we are getting ahead of nature and starting to modify something that we're not supposed to. And also, we need to understand that there are many ethical concerns when it comes to the bioengineering industry. We still don't have clear frameworks that can manage that. We don't have real rules that can show us whether these technologies actually on the long run are good or might have some negative impacts. And these are the main things that's keeping this tech from catching up a little bit more. And like we mentioned, bioengineering is very diverse. So you can get into so many careers, starting from careers based on the climate changes, like developing the drought and heat resilient crops, or getting into synthetic biology and working on carbon capture, wastewater treatment, and so on, or even getting into the engineering and the design of biomaterials, like having sustainable plastics, textiles, different construction materials, chemicals, and so on. And definitely also industrial engineers, where you can start to scale these bioprocesses for food, fuel, packaging, and so much more. And when it comes to bioengineering, we have a lot of data to process. So bioinformatics and AI analysis is a huge skill that you need also in this field to manage the biological data, the AI, the genomics of the materials that we are engineering, and so much more. And again, the community and ethical lead. We need to ensure the responsible use of these technologies. We need to ensure the social acceptance of the biotech, and to make sure that it does not actually affect the biodiversity of where it is being applied adversely. So jumping to the nature-based solutions. And you can get to conclude from its name that it's something based on nature, basically. It's the approach where we start to work with nature to address climate, biodiversity, and social changes. And this offers us a lot of benefits, not just economic resilience, but also human well-being. And we can have this in so many forms, like the reforestation, like having mangroves to protect coastal lines, regenerative agriculture that I know you guys went through in earlier sessions, and even green cities with the big definition of what green cities are, whether by integrating renewables, having large landscapes, inclusive spaces for different disabilities, and so much more. And why are they so powerful? Because this is one of the rare technologies where it's very cost effective. It's a lot cheaper than many engineered solutions, and it always gives us a multi-benefit. You have a contribution to biodiversity, climate mitigation, adaptability, and a lot more. And they are also very resilient. These ecosystems adapt and regenerate over time. Basically, nature has been doing it right for over a millennia, so why not learn from her? And also, they are very inclusive. You can integrate the local knowledge, the indigenous practices, and community ownership. And by the nature of the project, usually nature-based solutions are carbon sinks, like forests, wetlands, mangroves. They naturally capture and store CO2, and this just gives back to the multi-benefits part. There is a lot of skills and careers that can be covered in nature-based solutions, like ecology and conservation, understanding the technology required, like satellite mapping and AI for ecosystem services, community engagement, especially that the local communities are very, very important in nature-based solutions, policy and advocacy to be able to integrate these plans into climate plans, into the national climate plans, and a huge scope of careers that are specific to the nature-based solution itself, like the ecological restoration specialist, and so on. So speaking about the pros and cons of this tech, yes, it's multi-benefit, it's cost-effective, adaptable, and builds up a lot of local ownership, but it's not a magic bullet. It's hard to scale quickly, and it takes years to see the actual benefits. And also, it's very hard to build up a proper governance for a natural-based solution. So yes, it is ultimate to combine the climate science and the nature wisdom, but we need a little bit of balance to get the most of this optimal solution. And we can see a lot of these projects across the world. You have in UAE, they have a mangrove restoration to protect the coastal lines. You have in Kenya different projects of regenerative agriculture that have improved the food production and reduced erosion. And you have also China's Great Green Wall that was aimed to help combat desertification through the reforestation. And coming to our final technology is climate resilience. So what is the first word that comes into your mind when we say resilience? Resilience is the ability of creating communities that can anticipate the shock that's going to happen, absorb it, adapt to it, and recover, and later on thrive. And when we speak about the shocks, we speak about the different climate disasters like floods, tsunamis, volcanoes, whatever that happens in that region. And it's very important because it's a very high and costly situation. We have over $300 billion annually wasted on climate damage worldwide. And always the most vulnerable groups are the ones most impacted. You have the youth, the women, the displaced communities that are most impacted with. And it's important to note that by 2050, 70% of the people will be living in cities. So cities are basically the new city resilience hubs for the climate. And without resilience, climate change will undo the development gains. The city's infrastructure and food systems must adapt for that. And when we speak of resilience, it's not just the infrastructure like flood-proof cities. It's more of agricultural resilience through drought-resistant crops. It's social resilience by having inclusive policies, social safety nets, economic resilience by having diversified economies, and just thinking about what's going to keep this city working even after a huge disaster. And we can see so many different forms of it across the world. So for example, you have in Bangladesh, the cyclone shelters that have reduced deaths by cyclones by 90%. And in Netherlands, we have some delta works to protect the people from the floods. In Egypt, we have climate-smart villages with improved irrigation and reduced crop losses. And in Kenya, we have different index-based insurance to help protect the farmers from drought risks and improve their productivity. There's a lot to get into the climate resilience, like system thinking, understanding the urban and infrastructure design, handling big data, risk mapping, community engagement, and again, policy and digital tools. So basically, there is a space for everyone. And just to start wrapping this up, it's important to understand that in today's world, we're no longer working in silos. We need leaders who understand tech, and we need tech experts who can lead. It's a multi-dimensional skills world where flexibility and adaptability are no longer a luxury. They are a survival skill. And AI and digitization are not an option anymore. They are more of a core. So always keep in your mind that no one type of skill is enough. We're always aiming for hybrid skills, and that's a little bit of fusion between technical and leadership, just what we've been learning throughout the bootcamp. So when we speak about technical, it's basically the backbone of the emerging industries. The engineering itself, the technical information needed, the data modeling, and so on. And then we have the soft skills, whether it's the system thinking, the stakeholder engagement, and all of that. And finally, the digital and AI-driven skills. And the question that we all fear, is AI going to replace us? So far, no, but humans who are using AI are going to replace ones who don't. So you need to build your skills, understand the new tools, and what is really helpful to you. And always keep thinking that AI is something that helps you become more efficient, does not replace you. Consider him as a work colleague that can help you just finish your jobs a little bit faster. And always keep in mind that people are the core. We need to always have an understanding of the human side of green skills. We need to be aware of the cultural differences, the gender sensitive leadership, empower the youth, and have always empathy for the community and local indigenous parties, because the green transition will fail if it's not inclusive. We say leave no one behind, so we must really work with it. And again, just a reminder, the jobs of the future does not exist today in the job market. A lot is going on, and together you will create it and force the market on the development that's going to happen in the future. So how to build it? There is a lot to do. Just keep learning through whatever forms that you have, online courses, mentorships, boot camps, whatever you can handle. Join different communities like the one we are in right now, research communities, LinkedIn groups. Hear a lot from the different communities around you. Start to build your hybrid skills, pairing the technical with the leadership, and always practice flexibility. Career shifts are normal in today's world, and having to do or to work on a career shift does not mean that you're starting from scratch. There's a lot of accumulated knowledge that you can take from one career to another. So now we're going to get into a new activity where we can apply all these data that we discussed. And we are going to imagine together that we are lucky to start to design our city. We are in year 2035, and we need to build a new net zero city that is green. And we need to combine all the different technologies that we discussed, like the hydrogen, the energy storage, the bioengineering, and everything, and choose which solutions our city will use and what are the skills and jobs that we need to make this real and this city to function. So we have different ecosystems that we will work on. Each room will have a different ecosystem. Each ecosystem has its own risks, its own benefits, and its own technologies that we need to integrate. And when we will be done with the breakout rooms, we will want you guys to have like a very short presentation where you can just tell us in 2 minutes, what do you think you can do for your city? What are the technologies that you need, the skills that you need to integrate, and so on. Okay, so we'll be getting now into the breakout rooms. And let me break down the different rooms. So room one is the coastal city. This is basically an ecosystem that's beside the sea, like a Mediterranean city. You have rising sea levels, you have risks of storms, infrastructure that's being eaten up by the rising water, a lot of humidity issues, and so much more. And in room two, this is more of an industrial hub. This is a huge city with a huge industrial activity. You have steel, cement, heavy industries, and everything dominating around the whole industrial activity in the city. Room three will have a more of an agricultural region. This city focuses on crops, growth, and different agriculture practices. And they have issues like drought, soil degradation, erosion, food insecurity, instability for the farmers. And finally, room four, which is a desert smart city. You have arid conditions, small amounts of water, very high temperatures. So you have issues like the food security, how to start working on the agriculture. And I can't wait to see all your creative solutions on which technologies we're gonna integrate. And what do you think are the right skills for the people to start learning right now so they can start working on their city and make sure that when we reach 2035, our city is thriving and resilient. Um, I think we're gonna get ready now to get into the breakout rooms. And definitely feel free to share all your thoughts in the community platform. Don't forget to check out the handouts for all the extra information. And feel free to just pop any questions that you have on the platform so we can answer them later on. I think now you'll start being divided into the breakout rooms with the moderators. Please just share if you have any issues with the moderator that you have on board. Best of luck, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amira. And now the participants can see the different rooms. So please join the rooms that you are assigned to. And if you are not assigned, just wait a couple of minutes until, a couple of seconds until you are assigned again to your room. That's room one.
Hey everyone, you should all have received a request to join the breakout room. If not, you can also join manually via the three dots. You see the breakout room option, and you can also choose it on your end. If not, you would also receive a second request to join one of the groups. You can also proceed manually on your own. I think that means everybody is assigned. Osorobo, apologies, I'm making the pronunciation wrong. Do indicate if you have any issues joining any of the breakout rooms. You would have been assigned and you have the option of selecting the group. Mariam, I think that's everybody, right? It's also. Hi, Kashif and Hatam. We're seeing you here. We're currently in the breakout groups. If you were in a group before, do let us know and we can have you reassigned to that. If you just join in, then we can assign you randomly. So do let us know. Hi, Kashif. You would have been assigned, so you would need to rejoin the group that is group room 1. So let us know if you're having any difficulties joining. To the others who just joined, that is Alfred, Claude, and Afuchetu. We are currently in the breakout groups. So there are 4 groups. You should be able to see the option at the bottom of your screen. We can randomly allocate you to a room as of now. You can also select based on your preference which room you want to go. If you have any difficulty, you can let us know in the chat. Thank you.
So you think about seawalls, you can think about underground, almost like a French dam, like underground. So those are kind of like opportunities that we thought about. Next challenge to think about ensuring reliable energy. And there was a lot of comments here, a lot of feedback. Reliable energy could be possibly offshore wind farms, water waves and hydroelectric energy. So tidal energy, we kind of shot down the idea of nuclear energy, a little too high risk near coastal flooding. Let's see, what else? I want to make time for other people to chat, so I'm going to try to kind of speed through this here really quickly. What skills in green jobs will be necessary? A whole lot of green skills will be necessary. There's going to be education, technical experts that can talk through this and communicate it to local populations, engineers, civil and natural, conservationists, a lot of people with flexible growth mindsets that are able to communicate effectively, risk managers, probably project managers that are consultants or advisors that can speak to co-benefits of interventions, also risks to local populations. A couple more here. Biochemists, problem solvers, entrepreneurs could come in. Hydroponics specialists, I thought was a good one. And then a lot of finance experts. How will we, another challenging question was, how will we ensure that local community benefits from this plan, which is something I think is really important to think through, because you don't want to practice maladaptation. There's a lot of projects that come in to think they're climate adaptation experts and implement something, and then 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you realize that design intervention has failed and it's maladaptation. So I think it's good to proactively and preventively think about these things. So you want to think about how will the local benefit the community, think about indigenous populations, think about women and minorities, think about youth and children. How are they benefiting from this? The local economy, there's like fishing economies locally that you want to support. Foresters, think about like neighborhood institutions and assets that might be exposed to flooding and storm surge, and how we're going to uplift and support them and keep them resilient. Let's see, port and dock workers, marine experts,
Yes.
tourism and entrepreneurs. Yep, someone have a comment?
Jason, sorry to cut you out. Just try to wrap up in like 15 seconds because we're running out of time here.
Major challenges. Always climate financing is always a challenge. This involves a lot of stakeholders with different perspectives, and getting them all in the room. It's a very emotional work. So a high emotional IQ is going to be a real challenge. Thank you to everyone on Team One for contributing, and I'll go on mute.
Thank you so much, Jason, for being very comprehensive. You caught most of what we said. Thank you so much for your efforts and trying to keep it really into this short time frame. Okay, so room 2, the industrial hub. Where are you guys?
We are here.
Okay, so Muhammad, you are the one who's gonna start representing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the floor is yours. I'm very
Okay.
excited to hear what you guys have.
Okay. We talked about energy, what we wanna use. So our friends talked about hydrogen energy because it's very cheap and can be used in industries which cannot be electrified. Business talked about we can capture carbon and then sell it to يعني, then sell it to provide money. Our friend Human talked also about the more financial mechanism about who the industry can earn credits from capture carbon and low emissions, then sell the credits to earn more money, and this will help them financially. Also, we talked about the gray and the green and the blue hydrogen and from where they come and how we generate them. And our friend Goodness can talk now. Take the floor. Continue from here.
Okay, are you guys done with all the topics? Because we wanted to discuss also, like, what do you think about the local communities that you need to have in this? So you guys are speaking about hydrogen mostly. Do you need to like involve local communities a little bit? Who are they? What do you have in mind for this part?
In our conversation, we didn't go through this. Again, we talked about little bit technicalities because يعني, all of us will not bit technical, so we need to know more
Okay.
things about energy.
Okay. Okay, great work. So just to like add a little bit of stuff over here. So when it comes to the industrial hub, you have a lot of pollution. So I think bioengineering would be also a good thing. You need to think about the industrial waste that's being dumped, whether in landfills or in the water, if you have any sources. You can also start thinking about how to change the industrial processes itself. Can you replace harmful chemicals, reduce plastics? and so on. So these are just a little bit of points to think through. And thank you for your efforts on making your industrial hub a little bit more resilient. So now we have room 3, and this is the agriculture region. You guys are responsible for feeding us. So let's see what you guys have. Can the representative of room 3 get the floor?
Okay, Christopher will present the ideas.
Okay.
Christopher.
Maybe until Christopher can join, I would like to also invite Prudence from room 2. She wanted also to add some highlights to what Mohammed, if that's fine for you, Amira, of course.
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
Please
Prudence,
go ahead, Prudence.
can you now speak?
Yes. Thank you, Amira. And maybe just I won't try to then tackle item 1, but just looking at 2 to 4, some of the aspects that we were touching on is the aspects that the carbon markets can actually earn credits by cutting emissions below benchmark, selling the excess credits to fund further upgrades. And this was coming from the conception that, through the carbon capture initiatives or technologies that will be implemented, some of the carbon captured cannot be recycled within the industrial plants, but then can be used in other industries. And some of the industries that were actually highlighted by the team was reusing and recycling materials where possible. The steel slag can be used to build roads. The cement dust can go into concrete blocks. And even just encouraging factories to design products so parts can be used or recycled easily. So one thing that was very clear from our conversations was there can be initiatives around hydrogen that can be used to capture the carbon, but it may not be recycled to actually support the industry that we are in, but can be used to support other industries. Another critical area was how then, when you're looking at just transition, you spoke about including the communities, but also some of the finance barriers. And what is clear, if we look at this session and what we discussed in the other finance session under the same program, is that there's so much capital, carbon finance or climate finance available, grants or subsidized capital, that many of the corporate institutions may not be aware of. And this is the time to actually tap into this finance that can be used to apply and subsidize some of the innovation transitions and make it work. What we noticed is most value chains are not moving at the same pace. So one of the critical challenges is that as they're not moving at the same pace, you need to stagger your innovations, and that can actually allow that finance to come on board, and then you can
Prudence, you're breaking down. Can you just wrap it up in 10 seconds? Because again, we're running out of time, and we were breaking down in the past part.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. But maybe just to summarize is that industries can actually follow a blended pathway, which can be used green hydrogen in steel, electrification, and CCS. And that will be the way that will accommodate just transition and also ensure that, industries don't necessarily feel the burden of the cost, but actually bring on board the staff being trained as well as managing the cost from an innovation perspective.
Yes, thank you for the very strong conclusion. I think you said it all. Okay, so back to room 3. Is Christopher on board?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome, Christopher. The floor is all yours.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Christopher Mambwe, and I'm from Zambia. And it's an opportunity that I'm given to present this sector, which is the anchor of every aspect of our economy, because we cannot talk of advancement in skill when the stomach is empty. So
Christopher, sorry for cutting you before starting, just to keep the time on track. I hate just to mention it, we just have 1 minute, so try to get all the quick points together because I'm very interested to hear all that you guys have.
Okay, so with that time, I think let me put everything in one cycle. We looked about the skill, what the biotechnology can help us, and the other cross-cutting issues. So one thing that we've noticed is that with the transition and with the challenge of the climate, there are some crops that we used to plant, the local crops, which are no longer favorable with this climate condition. So with the bioengineering, it can help us to create seeds that are more resilient to these climate shocks, be it with heat or be it with too much of rainfall. So with such, I think we have an opportunity to save our indigenous crops through this use of the technology. And then the other issue is that with this shift, we are facing issues of the irrigation. There are some crops that are, of course, that will need much water now because of the change in the rainfall pattern. Maybe suppose you are supposed to receive the amount of rainfall for 3 months. Maybe you just receive in that particular year for 1 year. So it calls for the irrigational systems so that we can able to sustain our economies. And then the most critical part is the skills. Without the skills, then we cannot achieve our goals. So by 2030, we will need, of course, skills in the digital, the soil scientist, or it cannot be fully the soil scientist. It can be people with that skill. This skill can be at any level. It can be at a grade 9 level. It can be at the secondary level. But what is important is that if these local people, the local farmers, they have these skills in the agro-technology, in the digital marketing, they know how to create this business model which are able to adapt and respond to the climate events. I think I can let it be there because of the time. But all in all, the biotechnology can help us advance in so many areas of our agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for wrapping it up. I know you had a very hard task to do. And like you mentioned, the farmers are a huge key, the irrigation issues, the bioengineering part. And just to pinpoint something, so working in a lot of agriculture projects, you always need to have to keep in mind on how to localize the technology and make it as easy as possible for the farmers to adopt. So we have a lot to integrate, like satellite mapping, even drones, and so much more. But you need to help the farmers themselves and their families get into understanding this technology and adopting it, and actually finding the means of how to apply it, understand its results, and even have like real actual jobs in this technology, whether for the maintenance, for the operations, and so on. So now to our final room, room 4. You guys have been left in the desert. It's so hot over there. So let's see how you guys are doing.
Hello, this is Malaika from Pakistan. I represent Group 4. Ours
Okay. Hi,
is
Malaika.
a desert smart city. And so I'll go according to the guidance questions. The energy mix that we decided on, first of all, we completely let go of AI-based solutions because keeping in mind that this is a desert, which would mean that there would be a shortage of water, we cannot use AI-based solutions. Instead, we go for solar and hydro and smart hydrogen solutions, which would help power the city. And since solar is a more sustainable solution as well as a more long-term solution, we want to go for that one. We decided that we would make the city resilient by now focusing on the heat aspect of the city. A lot of energy is wasted on because of solutions to heat and heat waves, as one person mentioned in our group. So we want to go for green architecture. The example that was given was that of a school in India that is based in a desert that uses that used a very smart architectural idea that would keep the building cool on the inside. And we also want to go for water smart solutions that would sorry, I forgot. It's sorry, I lost. Yes, advanced storage solutions that would help to keep water for longer periods of time, as well as food and other grains, as desert tends to be a bit more precarious in its temperatures. Green jobs that we would be going for would be water system managers and hydrogen engineers, as water would be one of the biggest problems. And also at the same time, we want to go for people with sewage managers, so that water can be easily also drained out of the city and also like filtered back, so that we can reuse the water over and over in different solutions in different ways. Additionally, we would also want to go for architects, green architects for the city's architecture. The main barrier that we will, I think, face would be technical know-how, as this would be a desert. And the second would be cost, since a lot of the water filtration systems tend to be very expensive. Using this main barrier, I would want to circle back to question number 4, which is how do we ensure equity? One person, technical know-how can be covered by using community-based solutions. For example, we could train the community members to be the engineers and the architects in the society. We can train them so that this would sustain the society. And in addition to this, we also want to go for cheaper solutions. For example, one person in our group mentioned that we could opt for lighter colors, in paints and stuff, so that the light can be reflected back into the atmosphere rather than keep the city warm. Thank you. That would be all. Thank you.
That's very nice, Malaika. I love how you got into different details of the city, starting from architecture and getting creative about the colors. You thought of a lot of things, the sewage and the water treatment. So thank you for the very detailed solution. But I just want to pinpoint one thing, that you guys really need AI. You might not have the data center in your location, but there are so many different other solutions. You can have cloud-based services. You can have a little bit of different integrations, just to make sure that all these processes run a little bit more efficiently, so that you can collect better data about the systems and actually interpret and have like a longer projection on what issues might happen or pop up. Thank you for considering all the stakeholders and giving us such a nice perspective. And I think that the desert heat did you a lot of good. Thank you everyone today for this amazing session. All the insights that you brought were really exciting and interesting. I hope that you enjoyed today just like I did. And feel free to share any questions, any creative insights on the platform. We'll be delighted to share it with you. And handing it over to Youth for Capacity and Climate. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think definitely a huge round of applause to the YTG team. I think it's quite an interesting session. I also learned a lot about the future green industries and so on. Again, thank you everyone for your engagement. We started these boot camps in May, and I know some of you have been there in every single series. But I'm not going to take too long of your time, but just to highlight some key important things, which I know, of course, we've been asking some questions. So just very briefly, you would probably see the screen. I know on certificates, yes, we would be tracking it via Zoom, and of course, we'll be issuing the certificates within the next few weeks. We would also inform all of you on when that is being done via the platform. If you have any issues or you have any queries, of course, feel free to reach out to us via the Youth for Capacity email. In terms of presentations and recordings, yes, the presentations and all the resources would be made available in the platform. I know we've mentioned the platform a lot, and I'm going to touch on it at the end as well. So the presentation and all the resources would be available under the Files tab, which we've all showed you at the last sessions. And also the recording later on in the month, towards the start of October, we will share with you all of the YouTube links. Secondly, in terms of what's next, of course, as we know, we have the Climate Cafe, because we know it's a very large group, 120, 130 of you, and sometimes it makes it a bit difficult to hear all of your views, all of your thoughts. So we are delighted that we have the team from FXB Climate Advocates. So they'll be doing a Climate Cafe, which will be, you'll be in smaller groups, and we also be having the sessions in English, French, and Spanish. So you can actually engage in discussions within your preferred language. So that's coming up on this Thursday at the same time. Again, it is the same Zoom link you would have received. It would have generated the Zoom link for that Climate Cafe session. And finally, I think everybody here should have been joined the platform. If not, then you quickly scan the QR code, because right there, the discussions can continue. You can share resources, you can collaborate. In fact, also as of now, we do have a discussion post currently on, and which we invite you to sort of, engage with it and so on. I'm going to share it quickly so that everybody can see and knows where to find that discussion post. Of course, under the discussions tab, which you would have all been, and we have one on emerging industries and future green skills. And there's a discussion post already there, which you can comment under. Yeah. And of course, like I would have mentioned, we have the files tab where all the resources are available. If you have any issues, like we said, you can send us an email at youthforcapacity@unfccc.int, and we would try our best to address that. And I have two final things. I promise to close off in 1 minute. One, we would receive a request to take a group photo. So if you can, you would turn on your camera and would take a group photo together. And then we'd have the final task would be, we have a poll, sort of a feedback poll. So first the group photo, if you can turn on your camera, and then there would be a feedback poll where you just answer a few questions based on your experience in there. So one last photo, yes. You should receive the request, and yeah, and also the feedback survey, it's open as well. So you should be able to, I believe it has been launched. Yeah, I think everybody can see the feedback survey. Yeah, so you can fill in your thoughts there over the next 2 to 3 minutes. Once again, thank you all. Again, big thanks to the YTG team, to all the experts, the presenters, and definitely to you as participants, your engagement. And we look forward to seeing that continue on the Youth for Climate platform in the Bootcamp channel. So I'll just have the poll, because it's very important as part of our, our how we build the mentorship program and how we continue to grow it and make it even better next year. So definitely your feedback is very useful. Oh, it's good to see also that many persons have joined all 3 bootcamps. Excellent. Yes, I believe a few seconds again for you will receive a request for the group photo if you have not. think we have just about half of 53% of everybody has joined the poll. So just one more minute and then. This is like the part of it's not an exam. So I know it's like quite like it's an exam. So yeah, it's feel free to share your thoughts. Yeah. And then we'll just close up the call right after we have majority of the responses. Yeah, it's not an exam, it's all. For those who missed the photo request, we'll just take a couple of screenshots so you can leave your screen on and we'll take a couple of screenshots as well. So my colleagues will be doing that in the background. And I know we have some queries that is regarding certificates. Yes, feel free to send us it via email and we'll, as always, address it. I think that covers it all. Once again, thank you everybody for joining. And let's all do stay connected via the Youth for Climate platform via the Bootcamp channel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jibril.
And see you all on Thursday.